Hello, all you folks out there in YouTube land. After my review of Depression Quest, it was strongly suggested by one of you in a private message that instead of going after the low end of the bar, I should try something with some substance to it, namely Gone Home. I'd heard a few things about it in the past, insofar that it was a game about love and feminism and had a really deep, fulfilling story. After playing it front to back and going over all the content I could find, I can't say that I agree with all of that. It is better than Depression Quest, in that it does what it set out to do, and that is tell a story. It does do that rather well, and we get a picture of a family somewhat at odds with itself, as they accustom themselves to a new environment both socially and emotionally, and all the issues that go with it. The game is set in 1995, and prodigal daughter Katie has been in Europe for the last year as a tourist. It is not known where the money came from for her to do this, but it was clear she was running a bit short when she caught her plane home. She arrives to an empty house that seems to have been abandoned. We don't know what has happened to the residents, or why the place is in such disarray. As you explore the house, you get little tidbits in the form of audio letters from your younger sister, Samantha. These provide all of the narrative you require to grasp the story that the designers want you to see. Structurally, the writing is sound, Mom and Dad are doing things they love, and Samantha seems to be as well adjusted as anyone in their late teens has a right to be. All's fair in love and donuts, right? Not so fast. Just under the surface, we start to see the cracks. Dad's a writer well on his way to burnout. He wants to be the next Stephen King, and just doesn't have the talent for it. This is understandable, as very few can write the sheer volume that King does, and that alone will lead to more skill than your average writer. Dad is a product reviewer for a magazine and frustrated author of 3 books, the last of which he is having to shop. He inherited the mansion from an uncle that died without wife or issue, and it seems to have gotten to him. Mom is a conservationist for the state of Oregon, and is far more successful than her husband. She's recently had a promotion, with long travel times and added responsibility putting a heavy strain on her, and thus her relationship with her husband, friends, and younger daughter. Beyond that, we see very little of either. Who we see instead is Samantha's infatuation with a local girl by the name of Lorne DeSoto. She comes into the picture like most family outsiders do, as a friend of Samantha's, gained at the high school. Samantha as narrator details their relationship as it develops over months, leading to a rather predictable climax, when Katie finds the book of letters that ends the game. We get to watch the family go downhill, and it is implied that Samantha herself is to blame for a large portion of it. In reality, it is a perfect storm of circumstances that leads to the strife inside the family, and thus Samantha's exit. At this point, I would think that her mother and father are off looking for Samantha, rather than being home to greet the other daughter. In an age where cell phones were not common, they would have been better served to leave one at home, on the chance that the child in question might return and have anyone to talk to. Moving on a bit, I find the message in this piece to be more than mildly disturbing. I remember the 1980s clearly, and the level of pop culture reference makes things seem well researched, but the undertone is all wrong. The TV sets in Sam's room and the living room display things they should not, given that they aren't hooked up to anything. The inspection notice from the electrician for the insurance company indicates that the house is up to code, when the switches and his notes suggest otherwise. In 1995, the internet and email were already a thing, and it built from there. Home computers were inexpensive enough to be indispensable as a tool for a writer, but there are not fewer than 4 typewriters in the building. Yes, they were still reasonably common, But no writer that wanted to get work done quickly would have dispensed with a tool that not only promised the ability to edit on the fly, but quick submission to publishers that are very sensitive about deadlines. If you had to work with a typewriter, you did so in the office, where you can take it directly to the editor for a magazine that prints more often than quarterly. Some magazines, like National Geographic, can take stories and sit on them until they have enough of a particular sort to make an issue out of. Consumer electronics magazines are another matter entirely. Without giving too much away, the end of the game declares that not one, but 3 crimes have been committed, 2 of which will go very badly for Lorne if they are ever caught. The impression Samantha gave me early on was borne out at the end. This isn't a story about lesbianism, or freedom for women. This story is about rank stupidity on the part of 2 selfish little girls. I hesitate to call them women, as they lack the maturity to live up to their commitments. Lorne could have gone on with her life's dream, and been better for it. In 4 years, she could have gotten out and pursued whatever relationship she liked with Samantha, or anyone else. On Samantha's part, she ran out on a creative writing program that could have helped her immensely in doing the thing she seems to love most beyond her romantic attachments to Lorne. Certainly the education she would have received could have served her far better than running off into a world she knows nothing about. As for the gameplay, this is a wander-about first-person exploration storybook with a couple of puzzles to keep the player interested just long enough to let the designers drop their anvils. I complained that Depression Quest's writing quality was offensively bad, and that in Gone Home I'm annoyed by the ending of the tale speaks far better of it, even if half my problem is the dislike of anvil dropping in any form, never mind feminist anvils. Why is a rant for another day? Of major criticisms, I have 2. First, it was too short. I wandered through it in less than 2 hours, and missed little in terms of content from beginning to end. I never did find the combination to the safe, so I couldn't tell you what's in there. The other is more of an issue, at least to me. There are a lot of 1980s things and references thrown about helter-skelter, but most of it feels wrong. Some of the technology is viable for the year in question, and others only became commonplace afterwards. TV screens displaying test patterns in circumstances where over-the-air transmission would have been attenuated or blocked. In that case, you would see static on screen as a result of the cosmic microwave background. For those that have only read about it in books, or were too young to remember, then all this would be fine as an overall microcosm. But all the little errors added together put me off the environment, and made me want to get it over with. It's very nearly like the uncanny valley effect that some people have cited in talking to me about the way I look to them. It came off like a creepy dollhouse with the dolls off for their tea party. The game sells for $20 US on Steam, and in my opinion that's a bit high. Something like this would want to have longer gameplay or significant replay value to make it worth that. As for a rating, I would give this one 4 on the 10-point scale. There are no major bugs and the writing is solid, if uninspired. It's too short for the retail price, has no replay value, and muddles its time frame with the avalanche of cultural references that don't really work. I don't deduct for anvil dropping, but I will mock it mercilessly in future. That's it for today. If you have enjoyed this video, and want to keep seeing them, then please click the like and subscribe buttons. I currently have access to Kage's collection of games on Steam, and you're welcome to request one of those, or if you have something else you want me to review, feel free to donate it, and leave a message to let me know. I will leave the account name in the description. I'll see you again next week. Remember, games are supposed to be fun. Join me in making games fun again.